Hello, hi everyone, hi viewers. We are back with a long hiatus, and I'm so glad that I have Smita Uppal with us today. So, what better way to kickstart our, you know, uh, interviews again with the gifting season here, and with so much of festivity around the corner. And I think for us Indians now, everything is an occasion and a celebration. So, I want to welcome Smita Uppal. She's the founder of Gifts by S, and Smita has been working in this really clutter breaking, profile for the last several years. So, welcome, Smita. Thanks for taking out time and joining us today.
Hi, Richa. It's absolutely great to be on this show. I am super excited to share my journey with you. And it's been more than 15 years actually since I entered this space. And now when I look back, it started with working with something as basic as handmade paper. Handmade paper is very synonymous of our Indian culture and our Indian heritage. Handmade paper, for a lot of you who don't know, is basically old scraps of cloth that are beaten into clay and made paper out of. And then on those sheets, on those huge sheets of paper, is hand block printing, which takes place mostly in Rajasthan. So with that paper, I started initially, making letterheads and money envelopes and diaries and things like that. And I started making boxes, all shapes, square, triangle, rectangle, square. And when I started making boxes of handmade paper, the base was essentially cardboard. I started getting
Smita, can you be a little louder? I think the voice quality is little lower. So if you can be a little louder,
sure.
thanks. Sorry to
So
interrupt. Yeah, so
I
handmade
started
paper is all good. Yeah.
paper boxes, and then I started getting calls to, decorate those boxes. So there was a baby announcement, in the family, and they wanted to distribute boxes. I started decorating those boxes with teddy bears or balloons or ribbons and stuff like that. And I started also adding the confectionery inside, so cookies or chocolates or mithai. So then I got into full-fledged gift packing. So there were boxes, there were trays, there were baskets, the whole range of hampers started being created at my studio. And so that was, late 90s, I would say. And then early 2000s, Richard, that was the pre-digital era, when there were no WhatsApp invites, when there were no online invites. And kids parties was coming up in a very big way. And I started doing, these 2D, 3D invites in different themes, like a Perusal theme or Madagascar theme or fairy theme. And I remember doing invites for a schoolmate of ours. You might remember her, Parul. She was the head girl of our school. And I did the invites for her son's birthday. And she suggested to me, she said, "You've been doing invites. Why don't you get into the event planning space?" And Richa, honestly, my son was very tiny that time. I never thought I would get into event planning. But when my son joined big school and I had, a certain amount of hours free to myself, I started toying with the idea. And then slowly, gradually, I entered into the event planning space and I started doing kids' parties, theme parties. And that time I was very clear in my head that if
Wow.
I'm doing a theme party, I'm going to do it end to end. So from the invite stage to obviously the decor, even the activities, the return gifts, everything was being done end to end. So it was a Tom and Jerry theme or a space theme, or a Doraemon theme. Everything I started doing end to end. And then from kids' parties, I started even doing other adult parties like milestone birthdays, small wedding functions like a haldi or a rota. I do a lot of work for Rotary actually, and they have some really fun themes that I love
Wow.
working on. So broadly speaking, my work is divided into the actual fabricating of boxes, baskets, bags, etc. Second comes the packaging of the stuff. So my gift hampers, the trousseau, corporate hampers, for the festivals. And then third is the event planning space. So it's a very, the three broad categories that keep me on my toes most of the year, barring few, lean periods. Most part of the year, it's a very, very interesting line to be in. If you're creative, if you're passionate, it's one of the best things to be in.
Wow, sky's the limit. But you kind of, it's so lucky. It's so, I'm so happy to hear your journey. It started with a small idea and with a little push from a friend.
Yeah.
You could walk this path, and you've come such a long way. I keep seeing your page. I just wanted to show your page to our viewers. Like, Smita's page. I mean, everything is so pretty, so beautiful, and I'm like, I just want to touch and feel all of these beautiful creations. And then it takes a lot to think out of the box and innovate, learn, see what is trending, what kind of mood is there. And I'm sure there's a price point also you need to keep in point, number of people, perishable items, most of them are there. So how do you work so hard? It looks so easy, but it's not easy to reach this level of expertise. And uh, it's like incredible. Hats off to you. I mean, we can go on and on. There is so much to do, learn, and see. So how did you get into ideation and uncluttering? Did you are you in touch with vendors, or you do your own production? And how do you keep reinventing yourself? Because I'm sure with every passing uh, you know uh, like event which you get, or you get a project, I'll call it a project. So it is all about bettering yourself, because there's also a lot of competition. So somebody like
Yes.
Smita, what she did that, so you have to go two steps higher. So how do you maintain this kind of level?
So good question, Richa. Keep yourself updated. Now there is so much on social media. There is Pinterest, there is social media, there's so much online. So I think you have to keep educating yourself, Richa, because new trends are coming up every day. Every day there's something new to learn. Till about a decade ago, there wasn't much resource also available in our country to, you might have a great idea, but to actually put it into production wasn't all that easy. Barring a couple of Chinese imports, there wasn't much that one could really play around with. Now, Richard, the markets are flooded. You have a good idea, it is become much simpler to actually put it into production because there is a lot of raw material, there's a lot of resource that's available. And you have to keep educating yourself, with new ideas. Like I spend a lot of my time online just trying to understand what is new in the gifting space, in the event space, in the paper stationery merchandise space. And when you educate yourself, you educate your team, you train them, and every experience teaches you something. Every family I work with, every company I work with, there's always so much to learn. I suggest something, they come up with their ideas. The audience is also rich and now very, very smart. Everyone's on Pinterest, you know, and the clients themselves will come up with some of the most,
It's
exquisite
hard.
ideas. So,
Sometimes I'm
you have
bizarre
to
as
be
well.
equally smart because people are exposed to so many different ideas now. You open Pinterest, you open social media, Instagram, Facebook, Google, Chat GPT. There's a whole lot of ideas out there, and everyone wants to put up a good show. And especially weddings, everyone wants to do something little different. So
Yeah, hatke.
हटके हाँ तो एक बार क्लाइंट के साथ एक ब्रीफ एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग सेटल हो जाती है then you discuss budgets then you as a vendor figure out your costs figure out what your deliverables are and it's a great industry to be in if you are creative.
Great.
So
So, it is a very unorganized sector. I think it's only now that we are looking at, people making a difference and, professionals like you who are, from hardcore, corporate, background who transitioned into this space. So, how
absolutely.
difficult was it to, initially learn, manage, get through the entire thing? I'm sure, every experience enriches you. So, right now, what do you think, has changed and what changes have you guys brought in? As I'm sure there are many professionals like you who are doing high-end events
Hmm.
and parties and gifting. So, somewhere I believe you have two workshops. I think a lot of control comes from there as well, where you have given it some structure.
Yeah, you have to give it some kind of structure. You have to, um, you know, Richa, so much has changed. In the last 7 8 years, weddings, for instance, I mean, some of the themes that people come up with are, you can't even imagine. Like, I remember doing a haldi where the couple came and said, we met first in Positano in Italy and we'd like to create that whole village and we'd like to, that's the kind of decor and backdrop we
Wow.
need. So, wedding photography, you must be seen online, has become so, dramatic and over the top. People are going to, tall cliffs or some sort of, place in Africa and getting some really snazzy pictures taken. So, sky is the limit. There are so many creative ideas that, one is being asked to sort of deliver. So it's yes, you're right. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of coordination. Main thing is Tamiricha coordination here. You have to have your vendors in place. There is some stuff that you outsource. There is some stuff that you manufacture in house, and
Okay.
that's the kind of balance that usually works for event planner. You know.
Great. So
So
basically, you've scaled it up to the extent that you are in control. You have your two production outfits. So great, Smita. So Smita, tell me one thing. You've done all kind of categories. So what all is actually there? So you have your gifting division, you have your event division, and what else do you do with Gifts by S? Is there anything else which you guys do?
essentially gifting richer, and gifting you can work with different mediums. You can work with fresh flowers, you can work with artificial flowers, you can work with fabric, you can work with dry pampas grass. There are a lot of mediums to work with. So gifting definitely is one part of it, and that is the big part of it, because gifting takes place all year round. It's very busy, very hectic right now because of Diwali, because a lot of gifting takes place around this time of the year. Other is the event planning space where I organize events end to end. And the third remains the basic merchandise making of stationery with paper essentially. So those are the three broad facets to this.
Oh wow, great. So, Smita, some latest trends. So, what is trending right now? I'm sure a lot of things are there, like you talked about the Italian bit, and
So
when you
yeah,
started out, birthday parties are there. So, what is the
for
latest
Gen
few
Z,
ideas?
few ideas. Well, for teenage girls, it's Swifty. They're all Swifty. This is a Swifty Gen Z crowd. So a lot of demands for Taylor's, doing a Taylor Swifty kind of an event. A lot of, especially in the wedding space, like for instance, a space theme is really in, where the whole look is very, very metallic, from your costume to your decor. The whole vibe inside, that party hall is totally, out into the space. In fact, I remember, a lot of people these days, which are in the wedding space, are very, very strong on using sustainable and eco-friendly stuff in packing as well as in the wedding decor. I remember doing work for a very well-established business house in Delhi, and their brief to me was very, very clear that whatever raw material I was using in the packing has to be completely eco-friendly and completely sustainable. And I remember we used bamboo baskets, which we got from Assam. which are very common now but wasn't so common 5 years back. We got shola flowers, which are traditional to Calcutta. Shola flowers is an alternate to real flowers. They are made out of recycled wood.
Oh,
Not
wow.
only do they look pretty, but richer, they last a lifetime.
Also,
I
I'm really heartened. It's so heartening to know that you are doing so much for recycling. You talked about handmade
oh,
paper.
oh
You
yes,
talked
I'm a big
about recyclable material. I'm so happy to hear this. Small
yeah,
little way to make a difference. Otherwise,
yeah,
all the props get thrown away later on. At least you're using things which are recyclable. So, it gives you so much of, mental happiness that you're doing
yes,
little
absolutely.
decluttering.
Yeah. Even Richard, a lot of my trays that are my wooden trays are made out of re-engineered wood. Logs, logs of wood. We use a lot of that in our packing, in our जो हमारा base होता है, tray या box जिसका बनता है. So,
Okay.
yeah, and a lot of families now, especially the younger generation, is coming up to us and saying, we want to do we try to do the wedding as much as we can in keeping with, that whole idea of doing it in a very sustainable manner. For instance, Richa, in a lot of my packing, I don't use that plastic, that see-through cellophane. I try to
Yeah.
avoid that unless it's very expensive stuff or stuff that is likely to fall off from the basket. Most of the times I try to avoid that also. And I think going forward, a
Wow.
lot of
Yeah, I could see on your
people,
page, it's all clear, it is all
yeah,
clean, lot of
yeah.
fresh flowers, lot of, Indian, handmade
Oh,
stuff. So,
yes,
also it gives a lot of opportunity to women who are making these small, decorative items, and selling it out in the market. So, I see a lot of these Indian, pom-pom balls and the gota things happening. So, so
yes.
cool. And, I see a lot of butter paper and, recyclable stuff in your
Craft
hamper.
paper,
So,
Richard.
really cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Richard, I remember every time I would travel overseas, I remember picking up a lot of stuff for my work. And like I said, now everything is available in India. There is so much material available here that people who are planning to even remotely getting into this space really should go all out because there's a lot to play around with, lot to work with.
Great. So, do you have something to share with us? I'm sure you would be working on certain assignments right now. Do you have anything handy we just would love to see?
So something like this is a tray. Can you
Wow.
see?
Yeah, so
So
nice.
the bridal
Wow,
suit,
it is like huge.
yeah, it is huge. And this is a lehenga dupatta that is going for the bride to be, and
Wow.
it's totally this again. Like I said, this wood is made out of the engineered wood, and it's basically the brief with the client was to create a hanger kind where the dupatta falls and the suit
Wow.
and
I can
the
see some bangles also. If my eyesight is not failing me, I saw some bangles. How cute
so
is
every
that?
day some creative stuff takes place at the studio, and I'm lucky Richa, I've got a great team.
I
For
was about
this
to ask
to
that.
build,
Yeah.
you have to have a great team working for you, and then it becomes much easier to put things together. This
Great, great.
is again a kind of a box which we've made out of kapra. It's a kaju katli box, not a typical cloth. We use this kapra to make our suits and lehengas, etc. A typical food bowl. So yeah, different uh, products. Every day, something new is being made. Every day is something different. So that feeling of monotony, Richa, is never really there because
I
everybody
know, and
wants
it's so
to
much
play.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so right now at one given point, so there must be a seasonality. So, I'm sure you're doing a lot of wedding related, which keeps coming off and on birthday parties and bridal showers, baby showers. What other kind of events people are actually organizing? I just want to know because everything is now scaling up, and I think in our fast-paced life, this is the time when everybody wants to connect and come together and do
Yeah,
something with their near and dear ones.
absolutely, sir. Which especially post-COVID, milestone birthdays has become a huge thing. I mean, 40th birthday, 50th birthday, 75th birthday, 90th. I did a 90th birthday at the ITC Grand about 2 months back, and it was such a beautiful experience. The family that I interacted with, the way they organized that whole event for their father, it was his 90th birthday. Richard, they had guests, family flown in from literally all parts of the world, from the
I'm
US, from
sure.
Australia,
Yeah.
from wherever, making all the guests stay at the hotel. There were airport pickup trays for people, who were coming by flights. There were local people who were coming by trains. So airport pickup trays with refreshments. Of course, there were room hampers, the returns, the kind of, itinerary that we printed, with some of the most heartwarming quotes, for the father. So really, there
Wow.
is so much that is done, and I think even which I think post COVID, a lot of this has become even more prominent because everyone wants to now just make it special for the near and dear ones,
Yeah, yeah, you are
So
alive and you're celebrating, you are healthy. I think half the battle is won. So, Smita, how much lead time do you actually require to do events? Because there are some tactical which come and some, are last minute. So, usually,
yeah,
you and your team, how much time do you keep in mind? Like, somebody suddenly decides, okay, next week I want to do something. So, what's the
so
timeline you guys work with?
Richa, we are mostly prepared. In fact, I'm doing a 75th birthday next week, and this brief came to me almost 7 months ago. It's from a family living in California, and they want to organize a 75th birthday for their father. Here, I have a lot of time, so things are definitely more organized. I remember about sometime early August, I did a wedding where I barely got 10 days to put it all together. So there are times which are you get enough lead time. There will be situations where you don't have much time, and then you figure out your calendar, see if you can make time for it. I don't remember ever saying no to a client unless it's a very, very hectic period because mostly the team is prepared, Now the season is just starting. बस एक बार दिवाली हो जाती है, then non-stop weddings till about mid-Feb. So we are prepared. कि last minute कुछ भी हो सकता है, you can suddenly get an
Yeah.
order. And which is why I'm going on harping on the fact that you need a great team.
Oh, great.
That's the only way to you'll be able to put up a successful show.
I know, and then kudos to your team because you guys are actually translating a lot of ideas in actual life. So I think that thing also requires a lot of expertise and finesse. It has to look nice. It has to be cost effective. So do you work backwards as well? Like the times people would say, okay, this is my budget,
Yes,
or and obviously you would be suggesting things depending on the occasion and your expertise. That okay, these are the things we can do. So I'm sure it works both ways,
it was
right?
both because there is no MRP attached to it. It's an event
So it
or
can be a
it's
5 lakh, it can be a 50 lakhs. Now depends where you want to play.
absolutely, absolutely. Like I
Great.
know
So,
Halloween is, you were talking about trends, sorry, but Halloween has become so big in India now. It was never so big, and now from kids to adults, there are Halloween parties that are taking place, and some of the most bizarre ideas. I remember last year doing a Halloween party, and that entire ceiling in their drawing room was made with cobwebs and with skeletons hanging, and we made it into a dark room, and it turned out to be a big, big hit. So to answer your question about trends, Halloween is has taken India by storm. It never was.
yeah,
It,
I
and you will
know.
agree with me, now it's become a really big thing. Halloween parties.
I know when I moved to Gurgaon
Yeah.
13 years back, for the life of me, I had kids coming and ringing the bell, trick or treat. I said, Ye kya hua? And I didn't have much at home. So all my imported chocolates I had to clear out. So from next day, I was ready. Okay, so,
Very.
and I've also started enjoying. So it's good to
Yeah.
embrace certain Western influences in our lives. And it's so cute to see. And when you ask them trick, they have nothing. They're always waiting for a treat. So that's the cutest part. So,
Yeah.
it's. I wanted to also ask you about career option. What would be your advice to youngsters, and even it's never too late to start something. As a career option, how do you feel an event planner? This space, gifting, how lucrative it is, and what's the your general take of people trying to get into this?
Very, very lucrative career option. Richard, the wedding industry itself is huge. It is humongous. It goes on in crores and crores, and it's only going to increase. Uh, there are so many facets to just the wedding industry. Destination weddings has become such a big thing, and so much goes around into organizing a destination wedding. Your stay of the guest, your pickup, your decor, food, everything. So the wedding industry is just it's already exploded, and like I said, there is no stopping it. So even if you're remotely thinking of getting into the space, it is probably the best time to be in. And then everything gets related. एक बार एक चीज में घुस जाओ, then you start doing other kinds of events. Every experience makes you smarter, makes you wiser, teaches you. And the best part, Richa, about this is that you can start with a very minimal setup. You don't need to have a huge factory or a huge workshop. You need to basically be creative, get a team going, even three, four members initially, outsource work initially, take stuff from vendors. And once you perched yourself comfortably in this space, then you can have your own setup. But initially, Richa, you can start off with a very basic and very minimal setup. So no great, big investment really required initially. And then as you establish yourself, you start getting orders, you start making client relations, vendor relations, automatically things start falling into place. So
Oh, great.
really,
Wow. So it's
I
all
would
about being smart and ticking every box. And I think when you work hard, things fall in place. And also being, I think, a little bit more pragmatic, and also intelligently handling the situation. So, Smita, I have a question from one of our viewers. So, they're asking, how do you manage stress? Because with events and these kind of work and clients, super sensitive clients and their high demand, how do you manage your stress?
देखो स्ट्रेस हर काम में है. तो देर इज नो वर्क. आपकी कॉर्पोरेट जॉब होगी, आप किसी लॉ फर्म में हो, आप बैंक में हो, आपकी शॉप है, एनी काइंड ऑफ वर्क यूर इन, स्ट्रेस इज पार्ट ऑफ इट. But I always feel, and I have this very basic principle, that if you're passionate about what you're doing, you convert your challenges to some of the best opportunities. I remember there was a time I was doing an event. Frozen theme was really trending those days for young girls, and we were almost ready with our setup, and it was becoming a little windy. But we did our setup, we all left, and halfway into reaching my place, I get a call from the client that there has been a major dust storm and the props are flying off, and we have to do some crisis management. So immediately got the team together, reached the client's place, got power backup, pushed the props inside. The whole idea is the kids should still have fun. And तो इस काम में, स्पेशली इवेंट्स के काम में, weather can play spoil sport, and that can be extremely stressful, especially now in Delhi. Weather's become very dicey. पता नहीं चलता है, it will start drizzling. पता नहीं चलता है, it will start raining. So
I know.
weather, clients, if you have good relations, Richa, and I would say that would I've been lucky with most of my clients. If you've had good relations, you give you give your work on time. If you promise Wednesday morning the stuff will be there, you should stick to your deadline. So if that means hiring more people to do the work, getting in more resources, you should do out, because which our customer is king. That is something
Yeah,
that is
of course. Yeah, yeah.
negotiable.
Any day.
And if the customer wants a particular type, wants it at a particular time, you have to follow that. तो स्ट्रेस होता है, बट लाइक आई सेड, इफ यू आर पैशनेट अबाउट व्हाट यू आर डूइंग, इट्स अ वेरी क्रिएटिव लाइन, तो आधा स्ट्रेस तो उसी में निकल जाता है, बिकॉज समटाइम्स व्हाट यू क्रिएट इज सो प्लीजेंट टू द आई। तो
I know.
अगर अंदर से दिल से काम करोगे तो वो इजी हो जाता है हैंडल करना। एंड यार क्लाइंट्स तो हर इंडस्ट्री में हर टाइप के मिलेंगे। तो बट अगर आपका काम अच्छा है, आप टाइम से दे रहे हो और अपने क्लाइंट ब्रीफ को अच्छे से समझ लिया है, तो becomes quite smooth sailing, I would say.
Another viewers asked, what are few things a client definitely doesn't want, few pain points which they are actually, we want to hear some quirky answers, like something, which they always tell you, ये नहीं चाहिए हमें. Because चाहिए तो सब कुछ, but क्या नहीं चाहिए.
Hmm. Interesting. यार ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, मतलब उनको जो चाहिए वो बड़ी क्लियरली बोल देते हैं। डिलेज नहीं चाहिए काम में, अनटाइडी वर्क नहीं चाहिए बहुत। तो इसमें
Duplication
थोड़ा
नहीं चाहिए होगा, something which has already been done. They want something new, which they haven't seen from you or from anyone else.
there's
Right.
a lot of, like, let's say there are a lot of common baskets that you see. So certain clients who say, no, we want something very different. We want something very classy, that is not commonplace. So, so yeah, I mean, every client has a different brief, every client has a different taste. But शुरू, that like I said, शुरू में brief समझना बहुत important है. It's because Richard, every client has a different taste. Every client comes from a totally different background. Richard, there are times I don't meet the clients. It's just via phone call.
Yeah, like
And
your
literally,
California client you're talking about, you haven't met them at all. You wanna perhaps
no,
not meet them also because you might not be
yeah.
going to the venue. So,
It's very difficult to gauge the taste of a client when it's via a telecall. Once in a while it's a FaceTime, but most of the times it's via telecall. So to gauge the taste of the client, and then to put forth your ideas, वो शुरू में पूरा challenging part होता है, but वो जब with experience I think वो भी एक हल्की सी समझ आ जाती है कि
I
कौन सी
know, yeah, that's there.
की तरफ जाना चाहता है।
So, quickly, a last question. One viewer has written that she makes handmade products, so she would like to get in touch with you. So,
Absolutely.
I hope that's
And
fine. Then maybe they can show their products
absolutely.
to you. And if
And,
teams fit, you
you
can
know,
include them in
I,
the
I
hamper.
love giving business to people who work from home. I do a lot of corporate work for Amway, the company, and एक बार उनकी कोई Nutrilite protein powders थे that they wanted to promote via their Diwali gifting. And so the idea we came up with, that the cakes and the muffins and brownies that we were putting in the Diwali boxes, all of it had to have that Nutrilite powder. And I remember I had something like 10 women, because it was a big order. I could not have given it to one or two vendors. I almost had 10 women making different items of confectionery with that Nutrilite powder. So I am a
Wow.
big advocate of working with people who are doing stuff from home, because that is real hard work, and a lot of it which is organic, whether it's soaps, whether it's candles. So yeah, so please get in touch with me, and I will definitely incorporate those products.
Great.
So yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much, Smita. I mean, it's so heartening to see, your initiatives, your vision, your, hold on a lot of things. And I really like the fact that you've carved a niche for yourself and, you are running this successful venture. So, viewers, thanks a lot for joining us. Smita's page I've already listed. I'm going to leave the link. So do follow her, and three cheers to you and your team for bringing such
Thank
beautiful
you, Richa.
curated
Thank you for
events
having
and
me here.
gifts. Yeah, and let's keep in touch. And if you have any trends which you want to do in the future, let us know. So we are always around. So thank you for your time. Have a
Yes.
great day. Thanks for
You
joining
too,
us
Richa.
today.
This was lovely. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.